Mhm.
Hello,
Okay.
everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to the new year. Here we are in 2019, and I'm sure many of you have started off this first week thinking about your practices and maybe challenges from 2018, things that you can do differently this year, and how you want to grow your practices. Are there new things that you want to bring in? Are there new treatments that you want to train in? What are your thoughts about what this year will look like for you? Now, one of the things that most of us do at the end of the year is make a New Year's resolution. Not all of us, but some of us. And did you make a New Year's resolution? How was that for you? Are you sticking to it? Is that plan still there? Well, for me, one of the things that I set myself up for was to make sure that we consistently run our podcasts for you. So to share insight with some of the leaders in our industry, in the intention being to give more value to the Facebook page, but also to really support you in your practices and helping to keep that conversation going, you know, improving the global conversation of health and wellness for everyday life. And today I'm really, really excited to introduce our guest speaker. So to this gentleman, he's a long-time champion of complementary and alternative medicines. He is a friend, he is an author, he is a lecturer on Indian traditional sciences, and he also recently led a very successful national campaign to introduce Ayurveda and herbal medicine to ministers in the House of Lords by launching a yearly event. And he started that event 3 years ago. I actually had the pleasure to speak at the event last year 2017. And last year, the event, he moved the event to the House of Commons, and there were 200 delegates in attendance. Really, really phenomenal. He's doing absolutely incredible work to raise awareness of Ayurveda for the general public. So please welcome Amarjeet. Hello, Amarjeet.
Happy New Year. Good morning.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. And I must just let our audience know that we're going to be able to hear your audio, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to see you today due to some Zoom complications. So, but you will all get to hear Amarjeet speak and tell you more about his story. So really, Amarjeet, to start, you have an incredible story. You've been given your lineage. You were actually born into a family of healers and physicians, and this is all you've practiced for over 40 years. So please do tell us about your story. Give us an insight into those 40 years and how that's been for you.
So thank you for asking me to come along and join you this morning. I'm very privileged, I feel, to have been born, in this family. I can remember my grandmother from my mom's side, who was a healer back in Punjab in India many, many years back. And then the family moved to East Africa in Kenya and Uganda. And so my father was also from a healing lineage. He basically was very skilled in mending bones, like broken bones. So, I mean, this is an art, that was there before, plaster of Paris came into being. Mm-hmm. So, from a very ancient Ayurvedic tradition. So I am still, all these years later, still trying to fly the family flag.
And you're doing a wonderful job of it.
Thank you. So that's my little bit of my background. So I basically studied, a lot of the healing programs, obviously here initially in Scandinavia, in Europe. But all my major training came from India, so I went back to India, and then obviously still learning, because as you know, in the work that all of us are doing, we're all learners and we're all teachers, and so there are huge opportunities, for us to carry on learning. But I have the privilege of sharing a little bit of my humble knowledge, now and then in different parts of the world. But I think over the last, since 2009, a lot of my life, a lot of my time, a lot of my resources have been collated into the parliamentary activity that you very briefly spoke about. So I'm looking forward to sharing that a little bit more with you as we develop our thoughts this morning.
Okay, thank you, Amarjeet. So just for our audience, can you tell us in your own words, what does Ayurveda mean to you?
Simply, prevention is better than cure. You know, a word that very comfortably we can use in Ayurveda is prevention. And the idea really is that, you know, why do we want to abuse this mind and this body that we have the privilege of living in, and then trying to find a cure? And Ayurveda, as you know, is a system. It's a global system for wellness, just for not for us humans, but also animals and also trees and plants. It's a complete. You know, for example, like if you go and buy like a refrigerator, and get a little booklet, and it tells you where the on and off buttons are. And I always try and think of Ayurveda as an operator's manual for health and wellness.
Okay, I like that. Very nice. And so, from a personal perspective, how can we benefit from the tools? If you could just take us through some of the tools that you practice, and how you think they can help the everyday person.
I think Ayurveda sort of guides my life on day-to-day basis, and as you will well know that, you know, we have a program called Dinacharya Ayurveda, which is basically a timetable of what time we get up, and practicing our life and mind style during the various seasons, you know, that we have on the planet, and trying to live and enrich living in those seasons, which obviously then also includes our intake of food, you know, which are seasonal. So I try to stay within the jurisdiction of Dinacharya. Dinacharya in English would probably mean daily routine.
Yes.
And sort of, you know, practicing your breathing techniques and your yoga, and living a very steadfast life according to Ayurvedic principles, having a good breakfast. And as you know, all food in Ayurveda is all vegetarian, vegan food almost. And having midday meal, which is the main meal of the day, and then obviously relaxing in form of trying to take time out for walking, meditation, and just basically all those wonderful things that, you know, we all do every day on daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about the Dincharya, the routine, is that actually it gives you a routine for self-care. So it gives you some very specific steps that you can follow. So if we think about somebody who very busy, they're living a busy life, they're probably up at 6, 7 o'clock, they're out of the door within an hour, and then they've got a full-on day at work. How would you say somebody living that type of life can integrate this daily routine into their life? What would it look like for them?
You know, there are now, you know, a lot of talk about, you know, a lot of the therapies being available at place of work.
Yeah.
So there are therapists who actually go, you know, into corporations. So we all have to make a living, and as you quite rightly say, you know, people have to get up at different times of the day, and evening and nighttime. Some people work during nighttime. Yeah. But the best thing is to try, and as much as possible, to work within the body clock. And as you know, there are certain organs, that work at different times of the day. So the idea really is not to suppress the working condition of this organic being, um, and try and so with all this happening, and which then obviously increases, the elements in the body, which as you must know are all linked to the Tri-Dosha, and I think you have a very good idea about Tri-Dosha, and to keep all those in balance. So I'm trying to keep away from caffeinated drinks, and Ayurveda doesn't say that you mustn't do this, you mustn't drink coffee, you mustn't do this, but it's really your own ability to understand, what is really good for not just your body, but also your mind.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like you said, it's the integration of Ayurveda, the daily routine, into modern lifestyles. That's what I'm hearing you say, is that we're not living how we were living 1,000, 2,000 years ago. So this opportunity, that practices that we can actually experience some of the self-care practices at work, is a very positive thing. That actually there is on-site yoga now, there are on-site classes, there are things that we can integrate into our day. Even the meditation, meditation we can set aside 20 minutes at lunchtime and actually practice our own self-practice, there in our chair, or go for a walk. Yeah, so I really like that, and I think that is a way for us to be able to embrace the traditional practices, and for us to, but also for us to be able to receive them, and receive them in a way that suits the lifestyles that we're living today. Now, you also teach and you run different practices for therapists, I understand, with different training schools. So can you tell us a little bit about that? What are some of the courses that you actually teach, and where do you teach them?
So my specialty is in Ayurvedic bodywork techniques. So within the spectrum of Ayurvedic bodywork techniques, we have about 200 different modalities. So the idea really is that I get to sort of different places, maybe could be Germany, could be Malta, could be Spain, could be Bristol. But basically, the way it happens is that there are various institutions who like to work with me. They organize workshops, and I go along and I take all my pots and pans with me, depending on what the modality is. And then I simply go there and I do my teaching.
Okay.
And that's how I organize my teaching.
Okay, so customs must be really pleased when you walk through the door with all your pots and pans. Do you ever get questioned?
Well, I think, in different places, like abroad in Germany and Spain, I've done it once. So, all the main material is now there. So I just reuse that as, purely for demonstration purposes.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah.
And how long do the programs last? So if somebody booked on you've got training courses running in Germany and in the UK as well, how long are the average sessions of the training courses?
Yeah, because time is a constraint for all of us, because, most of us are working. So the way it's rolled out is that these are all intensive courses. So we're looking at a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it could be, in some cases, could be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, depending on the schedule of the learners. And so these are very intensive workshops, and so it's an ample opportunity, to have a classroom style class. But the projection really is on developing key skills in trying to learn these ancient healing systems, and to have as much practice as possible. And then, it's followed by a month-long distance learning, where potential students have to actually go out and do some case studies and do some additional work on maybe anatomy and physiology. A lot of the students who come on the courses are not already existing therapists, so
Right.
they're completely new and they want to have a complete break, and they're fed up in doing the same thing day and day, so they really are looking for a complete break. And then there are some students who perhaps learned a sort of specific modality. Could be Indian head massage, could be reflexology, could be whole body massage. So they want to have another feather in their turban, and looking for sort of growing not only sort of horizontally, but also to deepen their knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think this is really now more and more people want to sort of deepen their knowledge. And so then all the work comes in and it gets marked and it gets verified, So these the courses that I like to teach are not flash in the pan workshops,
No.
So these are very detailed, quite
So
deep.
there's a lot of substance within the days that you teach the course.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I just want to take us back to the bigger picture of your work. So when I introduced you, I did explain this huge project that you have been working on for many years now. And like you said, since 2009, a lot of your energy has gone into the raising of complementary and alternative medicines on a very mainstream level, and also really creating access and ripples to with NHS individuals at a very high level. So really pushing forward with the systems and with the messages. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that work, and then also how we can support you and be involved with that?
Yeah, Sunita. So what actually happened was that, going back, to 2008, 2009, there was an EU directive that had come out called THMPD. And so the idea behind this directive was that the European Union wanted to ban all herbal medications coming into the European Union.
Okay.
And so it was on the 12th of November 2009, under the aegis of the late Lord King, who's a very good friend of mine, that we decided to put our first meeting together. And the greater sort of joy, I think, at that time, was trying to bring the whole complementary fraternity together under one roof. And as you are probably aware, that there are so many different organizations and associations, in the CAM industry. But I mean, because this particular directive was targeting herbal medicine, so we were, looking at, TCM, which is traditional Chinese herbal medicine. We're looking at Ayurveda, and we're looking at Western herbal medicine and all other herbal medicine perspectives.
Yes.
And I think, because there wasn't really any headway made by any specific organization or an individual, to bring all of us together as a group. So that was a huge challenge, and at the same time, as much as it was joy. But I was very happy, everybody was sitting together. That in itself was a huge accomplishment, I feel, to have everybody sitting together, despite all the various political differences that various organizations, associations have with each other, and difference of the actual modality itself. So the idea really is that how do we take on this situation, and then we set up SaveHerbalMedicine.com. It was an online campaign. That's what
SaveHerbalMedicine.com. Is that still live?
No. That sort of did its work, and we accumulated and raised about just over 1 million signatures, which we made a presentation to the coalition government going back. So the outcome of that was that the British government actually did a U-turn and made it possible for people like you and me who practice Ayurveda in today's world, so that we can actually import directly from India fresh herbs or in their dry form, without any questions being asked. Now, if you are a certified, if you're an accredited Ayurvedic doctor, a physician, then obviously you know how to actually, create the medicine that you wish to give to your patient. I mean, that is how traditional
Part of the
Ayurveda has
training.
always been
Yeah.
practiced.
Yes.
Ayurveda in essence has always been one-to-one medicine. It's not OTC. It's not over-the-counter sort of fashion medicine system. So that's where we are now. And then, and then 2014, and a group of parliamentarians, who had then become, so good friends, and then we all sat down and decided that, what we should really do is to set up an all-party parliamentary group on Indian traditional sciences, which basically now safeguards and promotes all Indian traditional sciences, which include Ayurveda, yoga, Vastu, which is India's environmental engineering, Jyotish, which is India's astronomy and astrology, and Sangeetam, which is India's classical music. So these are all the facets, that are now, we have an opportunity every other month by having an event within the most powerful, house of politics here at Westminster, having meetings every other month, and bringing into bringing in awareness to the parliamentary and specifically also the policy making community and other stakeholders, so that they are aware of facets relating to dinacharya, healthy living, Ayurveda and yoga, and so that's where we are. And we have our next major event coming up on the 11th of February, which is celebrating Unani Day. Unani is a medicine system which initially went out of India by the Buddhist monks, and it reached Palestine, and then obviously it got blended into the shamanic values of the Middle East and the Mediterranean people. And when Islam came to India, it actually then came back to India. Now India is the only country in the world where Unani medicine is recognized and practiced. But
so this event is going to be at the House of Lords or House of Commons?
It's at House Commons.
It's at the House of Commons. So is it an open invitation to Ayurvedic therapists and practitioners to join
Precisely,
you?
yes. Yep. Okay. The whole idea of these events is to engage more and more with therapists and with practitioners and stakeholders, who have interest in natural medicine, in traditional medicine, so that they can come and they can see, what the group is doing, and they can come and make their observations, and they can say things. It's not just a place where they'll come and sit for 40 minutes or 2 hours and listen to maybe a couple of blokes speaking, but it's an opportunity for everyone to engage and to air their views.
No, absolutely. Well, it's certainly not a couple of blokes just sitting there. It's a whole panel of you, and revered physicians and doctors from India fly in for this event. It's a very highly respected, regarded event that you have been facilitating for all these years now. And as I said last year, I understand that there were 200 people at the event. So can you tell us some of the results from the last event? Has anything changed, or have there been any developments?
Yeah, so the group's main aim really is to look at every possibility for the legitimization of Indian traditional sciences. And so we want to work, with the NHS. And so we say, to the parliamentarians, we say to the policymakers that, we are just like you, we're normal human beings. So we'd like to have our chocolate, and, we'd like to have holidays, and, all the wonderful things that everybody does. But what we have is knowledge of prevention. So how can we get the NHS to look at creating a preventative models? And you'll be pleased to know that, there are now few hospitals, and there's one that comes to my mind straight away, the Middlesex Hospital, where they have got some trials going on with certain yoga and rheumatoid arthritis. So and as you also know, that Prime Minister Modi from India was here in April last year, and together with His Royal Highness Prince Charles, they inaugurated a center for yoga research and Indian traditional medicine. So we're putting a lot of our energy and a lot of our resource trying to get the government, the British government, to understand and acknowledge that, if all of us living on this island can have choice of freedom to the food that we eat, for the clothes that we wear, why don't we have that freedom of choice for medicines? Unfortunately, everyone, it should be the choice of freedom, whether people want to enjoy receiving allopathic medicine or they want to have a traditional medicine. So that really is where we're going with all this.
No. Amarjeet, thank you so much. The work is phenomenal. I know how hard you're working in the background and moving all of this forward. And to see where we are today, to see that you are running these events, you are raising awareness with the NHS, and already we have some satellite hospitals who are facilitating Ayurvedic treatment and putting together research to actually be able to show the general public the benefits. And really, at the end of the day, what this this benefits the general public to actually have a choice. And that's what this is all about. So thank you very much. Before we go, how can we get in touch with you? Please just share your details.
I'm available on my email, which is the best way to get through to me, which is Indian Sciences with an S at the end @live.com.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. You take care. Thank you. Bye. Bye.